The rain poured relentlessly that night, hammering the streets like 1,000 tiny needles against glass. The city lights blurred in the downpour, turning into streaks of gold and red as the wipers struggled to keep up. Inside a black Mercedes, a man sat alone. His name was Ayaan Malik, a 38-year-old CEO of one of the biggest real estate companies in the country. His tailored suit was crisp, his watch gleamed under the dashboard light, and yet a broken bar. There was something hollow in his eyes. He had everything most people dreamed of: wealth, power, respect. But deep down, Ayaan was drowning in a silence money couldn't fill. He had built skyscrapers that touched the clouds but couldn't build a life that touched hearts. Every night, he drove aimlessly after work, as if the empty roads could offer answers that boardrooms couldn't. That night, he was lost in thought, watching the rain blur the city's reflection, when suddenly a soft knock echoed on his window. He turned, startled. Outside, in the freezing rain, stood a young woman, drenched from head to toe, clutching a small bundle wrapped in a thin blanket. Her lips were trembling, her eyes wide with desperation. "Please see Broken Bar, my child is sick," she cried, her voice barely audible over the roar of the rain. Ayaan hesitated. For a split second, the cautious, guarded man inside him wanted to roll up the window and drive away. The world had taught him that helping strangers often came with regrets. But something in her eyes, a raw fear, maybe love, made him unlock the door. "Get in," he said quietly. The woman slid inside, shivering uncontrollably, holding the baby close. The child's face was paled, breathing shallow. Ayaan immediately turned up the heat. "What happened to him?" Ayaan asked, glancing at the baby. "Broken Bar, he has a fever for 3 days," she said through chattering teeth. "I went to the hospital, but they said I need money for the medicine. I treat a broken bar. I tried to find help, but no one stopped. Please, just drop us at the clinic down the road." Ayaan pressed the accelerator without another word. The hospital wasn't far, but the storm had turned the streets into rivers. As he drove, he noticed her clothes simple, worn. Her hands were rough, probably from work. Yet she held her child with the tenderness of someone who had nothing left in the world but that tiny heartbeat. At the hospital, Ayaan rushed inside with them. The nurse looked at him. His expensive clothes made her assume he was the father. Without hesitation, Ayaan handed his card to the receptionist. "Whatever the treatment costs to cover it." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, I can't repay you," she whispered. "Don't," he said softly. "Just take care of your child." Hours passed. The baby was treated for pneumonia and slowly began to breathe normally again. The woman, her name was Sana, sat beside the bed, murmuring prayers. Ayaan stood near the window, watching the rain ease into a drizzle. For the first time in years, his heart felt a broken bar warm. When the doctor confirmed the child would recover, Ayaan turned to leave. But Sana called out, "Sir Broken Bar, why did you help us?" He paused. "Because once, someone didn't stop for me." She looked confused, and he smiled faintly, pain flickering in his eyes. Years ago, before the fame and fortune, Ayaan had lost his wife and unborn child in an accident. He had begged for help on that same rainy night, but no one stopped. That memory had frozen his heart ever since. Driving home that night, the silence felt different. Not empty, but peaceful. He didn't know why, but something about that sulked, desperate mother had healed a wound he didn't realize was still bleeding. The next morning, Ayaan sent someone to check on her. He found out she lived in a leaking one-room house and worked 2 jobs to survive. Without a second thought, he arranged for her child's medical expenses to be covered permanently and offered her a position at his company, where she could work in a safe environment. When she came to thank him, she cried silently and said, "Sir, you saved not just my child, you saved me." Months passed. Ayaan began to visit their small apartment often, bringing toys for the baby, groceries for Sana. Slowly, the loneliness that had consumed him began to fade. The little boy started calling him Uncle Ayaan. Every time that small hand gripped his finger, something inside him softened. He realized that the empire he had built meant nothing compared to the quiet joy of being needed. The walls of his mansion no longer felt like a prison, they felt alive with laughter. One day, when the boy was finally healthy and running around his office, Sana said something that stayed with him forever. "Sir, The night you stopped your car in the rain, I thought God had forgotten me. But maybe Broken Bar he sent you instead. I ate and smiled. Maybe he sent us both to save each other. From that night onward, I ate and changed the way he lived. He started a foundation in memory of his late wife and child, the one that provided free medical aid to mothers and children in need. Every time it rained, he would drive slowly through the city, not searching for peace, but for someone who might need it. And every person who met him could see it in his eyes. The pain was still there, but now, it had a purpose.